Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too, as we continue to live, laugh, love, learn, linger, and live the life we love. Well, it's Monday, so it's back to Poetry Day, and this is one that was sent by one of my students that I've kept with me, so I don't just appeal to things that I find is true, but when people send me something that resonates, I want to share it and honor them. So Juno Lamb, thank you so much from New Hampshire for sharing this. It's called Getting the Hang of It. Maybe one day I shall get the hang of it, the mild and bitter, sweet and sour tang of it, the Cupid's bow and arrow boomerang of it, and why you never wrote, never rang of it, the chalk and cheese, the hard and soft yin and yang of it, the ego id, Sigmund Freud and R.D. Lang of it, the Adam, Eve, evolution, and orangutan of it, the lock, stock, barrel, and the big bang of it. I hope to say before I die, despite the pang of it, I held it in my arms and not just sang of it. I love that. That's so sweet. All right, so to my journal writing friends out there, what story do you always share to identify your woundedness? We almost all have a kind of original crime scene that if we're willing to go there and risk our vulnerability by telling other people what's going on. So I ask you, what story do you always share to identify your woundedness? You tell me yours, I'll be glad to share mine with you. All right, from my yoga guru, Mr. Iyengar, body stability and mental clarity. That's what's going to uncover and transform what he calls the virgin purity of the uncontaminated self. And it brings with it the art of right living, which is what yoga does. It shares various disciplines like attention density that are ethical, physical, mental, and spiritual. Or as we like to say, Raja Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Now, human beings in an anthropomorphic way can be seen to consist of all the spheres. We're the culmination, the crown of creation, and I don't know if we're done yet. But we're an accommodation, and we take part of that which surrounds us and covers us like a shell, the physical body. And yoga, they talk about the sheaths, like nesting Russian dolls. And our life becomes dependent upon the same substance of which it's made, subject to those laws of the spheres of the material plane. And that's which we draw our sustenance from on the material plane. But there's certainly a kind of interpenetration of our energies of subtler levels that are not just the material plane. And those are the things that get discovered and unfolded as you practice yoga. Now, I've learned from Joseph Campbell that we all may seem like we're baffled by wandering in the wasteland without a sense of where the living water is, the nourishment. And so the whole idea is to learn to find the dynamic source at your own center, the one that's not put upon you by society or social conditioning or coordination with the forces that are outside yourself. And then when you do that, it helps tremendously to face your own mortality. So you could say that facing your death is an art form of your own completion. Death is not an aberration, but an agent of the completion of your own life, the period to the end of your sentence, or the exclamation point, you could say. And as my rabbi says, death is absolutely safe. Nobody fails it. Nobody fails at it. So if you can transform your anxiety by accepting this, which is so difficult, but you will see awe, thankfulness, and appreciation as your traveling companions once you're willing to face this. Now, for those of my friends who are already orphans, but even if your parents are not dead, psychologically live as if your parents were dead. And the symbolic understanding of what I'm trying to say is that we no longer need to live up to anybody else's expectations. We no longer need to suffer anybody else's criticisms. We no longer need to try to please anybody to show that we're worthy. We no longer need to be burdened by anybody else's judgments. Instead, we learn to be driven by a deep sense of mission and a deep sense of the search for love. So remember, as my affirmation message would say, we're all instinctual beings whose roots are in the source of existence, which is the spirit. And if you touch that, you will allow the depth of your own being to flow. The fullness of who you are will flow. And then you realize you can't stop yourself from feeling good when you leave resistance behind. How many times do I say, minimize your resistance and maximize your allowance? Then you have positive expectation instead of negative anticipation. So remember, everything is plastic to your thought. It's in the selection of your thoughts that your destiny lies. And what really is going to demonstrate in your life is your expansion of consciousness. So, as it says in the old scripture, be ye not transformed or conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your own mind. So, my friends, have a great day. Work hard, but don't make hard work of it. And if you can find that, which makes you realize that work is a kind of play, you've really found your Dharma. Have a great day. Next Saturday will be the third and the last of the series that I'm teaching at Chai Yoga Shack, 1942 North Levitt, from 2 to 5. We'll be doing the therapeutic series on hips and knees. Check it out on my website, and I hope you join us. Have a great day.